Good day, everyone. So we're going to go over section 2.3 today, and we're going to take a look at how to start analyzing categorical data. And we're going to start with some simple stuff. Now, I want to go back really quick about 2.2. So the reason why we look at, say, variables that are categorical versus quantitative, and then we take quantitative variables and make them discrete or continuous, is because if you have data that is categorical, you're going to want to analyze it one certain way, and if it's quantitative, you're going to want to analyze it separately from categorical. And then, if it's discrete or continuous, you're going to maybe look at it differently. Okay, so that's why we go ahead and we go ahead and classify these things, these variables. All right, and so this is kind of the first step in 2.3 in sort of analyzing this data. And so what we're going to take a look at is categorical stuff. Okay, so we're going to take a look at numerical and graphical summaries for categorical data in 2.3. So what about these numerical summaries for categorical stuff? Well, it's usually done in a table. It doesn't have to be, but it's usually well organized in a table. And so, for example, let's say that you have just one variable in favorite color. And so a lot of times what I would do is I would go around the class and ask 10 people, hey, what's your favorite color? And I put them on a board and then do stuff with it. Okay, so let's say that this is our key. All right, and we asked 10 people, and that's what the first 10 people told me. So the first person told me blue, second one told me purple, third one green. It's kind of interesting how things have changed over the years. 15 years ago, I never ever would have gotten anybody to say orange. Actually, I would have seen pink a lot. Now I hardly see pink for a favorite color. I'm just saying how things kind of change over time. So, anyways, so let's say that these are our first 10 people, and this is what they said for their favorite color. Well, we got to start organizing this stuff, right? Because looking at this raw data, it's hard for us. It's hard for everybody. Okay, especially in this data where day and age where our data sets could be millions, even billions of records large. Okay, our brains can't handle all this raw data, so we need to organize it. Okay, and so what we can do is we could go ahead and make some sort of table. Here, a frequency table. Okay, we would put, okay, here's favorite color, and frequency is just the number of times it shows up. Okay, and so for instance, blue shows up 4 times, I think. Purple shows up once, right? So let's see, just to make sure here. Let's see, blue 1, 2, 3, 4, purple once. And then green and orange, we got 1, 2 for green, 3 for orange. Okay, so we created a frequency table. All right, now we don't have to stop here. We can take this a little bit further. Now, we could go ahead and sum those up. And so we had 10 people that we took a look at. Okay, now we can go even further. Okay, now I'm sorry that all of this just came on the screen at once. It was kind of hard to not to do that. Okay, so we have this idea here that of relative frequency, proportions, and percentages. They mean exactly the same thing. Okay, so relative frequency, proportion, percentage all mean the same thing. It means part of the total. So these are numbers that are going to be from 0 to 1. So it's either going to be a fraction, a decimal, or a percentage. Okay, that is between 0 and 1, or if you're talking about a percentage, between 0% and 100%. So relative frequencies cannot be things like 10 over 5. Can't be 2. Can't be 200%. It's got to be between 0 and 1, or 0 and 100%. And so here, relative frequency, what would we do to figure out the relative frequency for blue? We would take the frequency for it and put it over the total here. So 4 over 10, 1 over 10 for purple, 2 over 10, 3 over 10 for orange. Okay. So relative frequencies I've seen as a fraction, or I've also seen them as a decimal. Okay. Now, you got to be careful about this because you're going to be doing homework in WebAssign. If it asks for a proportion in WebAssign, what it's asking for is a decimal. Okay. A lot of times, relative frequency will be entered as a fraction, maybe as a decimal. That's fine. Proportions, though, usually they're talking about decimals at that point. Okay, and percentages, as you know, percentage, right? Okay. And so we would start with the proportion, move the decimal place over 2 spots, throw our percent sign down, we got our percentage. Notice all of these telling us exactly the same thing. Okay. So notice that even though our data started off as categorical, okay, we can start adding things up and start sort of making more sense out of the raw data. Okay. So numerical summaries. What about graphical summaries for categorical data? Well, here's a list. Now, you're going to see various lists in Chapter 2. I beg of you to learn these lists, especially for the exam. I hope that you learn them earlier than that. But there's going to be some lists that I'm going to give you in Chapter 2. Please memorize them. Here's the first list. It's short. So, what are the graphs that you can make for categorical data? Well, either you can make a pie chart or you can make a bar chart slash or bar graph. Okay. This is important because when you do your project in Intro 2, okay, you're working on your project, one of the things I'm going to ask you to be doing is for your data to create some graphs, okay, in what we call StatCrunch, okay. And so it's important that you understand that, oh, if I have categorical data, I can either make a pie chart or a bar graph or bar chart. That's really all I can do with those things, okay. So here's our data again, and let's say that we're going to go ahead and create a pie chart, okay, for our data. Lord knows I'm not going to make you take out a protractor and figure all that stuff out. Okay, we'll do it on a computer. I'll show you how to do that later. Okay, so here is your pie chart for this data, and notice that the pie chart, all it does is that what it's doing is that this 40%, this 20%, this 30%, this 10%, that's what it's focusing in on, right? Because this right here is 40%, okay? This is 40% of the entire circle. And this is what, 20% of the entire circle, green, so okay. So, sorry that the colors are off. The colors are chosen by StatCrunch, okay? It's not necessarily setting up like I have blue, green, orange, and purple. It just sort of randomly chooses those colors for me. Okay. So anyways, so there you go. All right, pie chart. You've seen all that stuff before. All right. How about a bar chart or bar graph? Okay. So we would start with our first one, blue, B. Then we have green, orange, and purple. Okay. Doesn't matter that I put blue first and then green, then over here I had blue, purple, green, and orange. I put it in different. That's fine. Okay, I can put it in any order that I want to. Down here, this is not a number line. Over here we have a number line. It's right now I have the frequency, how often they show up, right? And notice that there's spaces in between here. Okay, they're supposed to be. The reason why we put spaces in here, okay, is that this axis down here, okay, are the categories of the variable, so blue, green, orange, purple, okay, and there's really no rhyme or reason. There's no real order to this, okay. I could have put them in any order that I wanted to, so we put spaces in between here. All right. So blue had 4 for frequency, green had 2, right? Orange had 3, 1 for purple. Okay. So bar chart. Now, could you have put something else over on the side? Yes, you could have put relative frequency or slash proportion. Okay. Notice that. Let me go back to the other slide here for a second. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, if you divide through by the sum, of 10, you would get 4 over 10, 3 over 10, 2 over 10, and 1 over 10. And then if you went ahead and created the relative frequency, okay, notice what happens. The graph doesn't change. The height of the bars do not change. Okay, and so in other words, it doesn't matter if you put frequency, relative frequency, if you put a percent, it doesn't matter. Okay, the bars are not going to change. Okay, it just depends on what you want to show other people. Okay, what do you want to see from your graph, and what do you want to show to other people? Okay, so it doesn't matter if you put frequency, relative frequency, proportion percentage. It's not going to change our bars. Okay. Okay. That ends that section. All right. So the next section we'll get into quantitative summaries and quantitative graphs. Thank you.